Legend for Life here with Boomer.
What's up?
We're bringing you another top 10 list this time around. The top 10 budget decks for the June 12th format. We honestly had a bit of a tough time making this list, mostly because there's just so many decks that could really be honestly pretty good for this format. Because really, honestly, you just have Zoo and True Draco, and that's like the main two decks. They're the main expensive ones, and every other deck is pretty cheap in comparison.
It's been a while, I think it's been years since we've done a top 10 video as a duo, and that's really funny. It's really funny to me how we're finally getting to a top 10 budget deck, considering the channel that we run. It's very funny that it took this long.
Mm-hmm.
But alas, guys, we're here to bring it to you guys. And before we get started, I feel like we should probably say, if you guys have any other options that we don't mention, please leave them down below as to what other budget decks you think would be solid this format that we haven't mentioned. This is just our personal opinion. You guys don't have to agree with it. That's completely fine. This is just our take on it, and we will try and explain to the best of our ability why each one is in its own category.
Yeah.
And for other cards that are going to be considered honorable mentions, we're going to explain why they couldn't be put into the actual list themselves. And yeah. So.
Alrighty. So moving on with moving on with the list. Number 10 is Ancient Gear. So firstly, this deck is super duper cheap. You can literally just buy 3 Destruction deck and you're good to go. And then the other cards that recently came out are all super rare or lower in like 2 sets ago, and are, again, like you can pick it up for $0.25 a piece. So the deck is really, really cheap off of that basis, but not only that, but also has an extreme amount of firepower in the sense that it has incredibly powerful monsters that your opponent can't respond to any of their attacks. And their 2 main spell cards, Ancient Gear Fortress and Gear Town, enable you to swarm the field and protect your monsters because, well, Ancient Gear Fortress provides non-targeting, basically making it to where all of your Ancient Gears turn into beals for the turn that they're summoned, making it to where your opponent really isn't able to counteract anything you do. However, the big issue is the deck bricks like all hell.
Yeah, like when they brick hard. But see, that's also that's a double-edged sword about the deck. Is not only can they brick very hard, but you can also rip the absolute nuts, and you can OTK in one turn. It's very weird how back and forth this deck can actually be. The consistency is just very all over the place, and it's one of the reasons why it's so low on the list, because of the fact of how hard it can brick, and the consistency is very odd. But if you can find a consistent build for it, it's actually a pretty solid deck and a pretty solid matchup to some of the meta.
Yeah. Me and a friend of mine were talking about its matchup against Zoo, and provided you don't brick with Ancient Gear, the deck has a really good matchup against Zoo because they can't really do much to the Ancient Gears in terms of battle. Whiptail won't banish them because, well, they're Armades for the most part. And while they're considered a spell card, Ancient Gear Fortress gives them all protection to turn they're summoned, so they can't pop it with Trident. And even if they do use Trident's effect to get rid of Fortress, Fortress will summon out another Ancient Gear from hand or grave, meaning that the deck has a really hard time dealing with the deck for the most part. Not only that, but also the deck... Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I'm just agreeing.
Yeah. The deck has some super scary fusion boss monsters. Ancient Gear Chaos Giant is a beast to deal with. Ancient Gear Howitzer is puny but unaffected by everything, and when he dies, you get to summon out another Ancient Gear from deck ignoring summoning conditions. And then, of course, Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem is also a beast of a boss monster. So the deck has a lot of firepower to go for it.
Not to mention the fact that, going back to the budget part of it, obviously, you're not going to, in a deck like this, especially if you're wanting to compete against somebody, you're not just going to want to go, oh, we'll just get three structure decks of this, and then we're good to go. The other reason why it's so budgetable is because the other cards that you are going to be tucking in are very cheap or very easy to find. Yeah. Some people play the Ancient Gear box build, and others tacking cards like Silver and Gold Gadget, which are only a couple bucks a piece, just to spam out a lot easier. Hell, some people could, hypothetically speaking, play cards like Photon Thrasher or Tin Goldfish just for the rank 4 spam, and then you can start setting up for your big Ancient Gear plays.
Yeah.
Which is, again, just... Not to mention, like, they don't really go into the extra deck too much. But, like, if they did, like... There's not a lot of extra deck cards in this current format that are too pricey to a point where you really can't get a hold of them easily now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
Yeah, again, their fusions are all super lower. Standard rank 4 toolbox. The literal only expensive card in the deck is Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, and that's only because he hasn't had a reprint in years. Like, the DT version's like $15, and the original Ultimate Rare is like $30. And even then, that's not too bad, like, for pricing and stuff, but even then, you only play one of them, so...
Keep in mind, a lot of the decks on here are budgetable, and, like, the only reason why people could argue that may not be budgetable is because of a few select cards that could be a bit pricey, but, like, also keep in mind, like, if you already have those cards, you've got the deck, basically, because most of the stuff you can just pick up very easily. Yeah. Like, Ancient Gears... Even with all the extra deck stuff, or even with all the extra deck and main deck stuff that you could find that aren't in the structure deck, you can easily find most of the stuff for under $50. I mean, it's very easy to get a hold of.
Yeah. Alrighty, so moving on to number 9, I'm sure this is one that Boomer is going to want to talk about.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
It's his favorite.
Let me introduce. Number 9, guys, is Madolche. Now, I can't remember the last time I was actually able to sit down and play this deck because I know how not so powerful it is anymore compared to what it was, like, say, 3 or 4 years ago. But even so, the deck has not been touched whatsoever, and the only expensive card in this deck now is Madolche, and that's only because it hasn't been reprinted. Everything else comes in either very cheap or very low rarity to a point where you can get a hold of it very easily. And it's like, not only that, but like, Tiramisu alone is still, in my opinion, one of, if not the most powerful rank 4 in the game currently, because of the fact that it can loop your opponent's cards back in their deck, and it doesn't target. So it gets around a lot of decks, not only just in the current meta, but most of the decks on this list. Mm-hmm. And again, everything's fairly cheap to come by. And in my opinion, the best part about this deck and what makes it unique compared to other decks is they don't stay in the graveyard for long. You're basically recycling them without actually having to do anything other than rely on their effects. So the only drawback on this deck is the fact that if you're playing hand traps, Veiler, Maxi, or even a ton of back row, that can easily hurt this deck. But if you get around a lot of that, and if you think about how much of the meta doesn't play back row, apart from maybe Paleozoic Frogs, this deck could potentially have a chance of setting against them. Mm-hmm. You know, apart from Zodiac, which plays Dryden, because Dryden's kind of obnoxious with another player's turn popping, but like other than that, it's like, you know, if they don't have those outs, it's like the deck just loops like a motherfucker.
Yeah, and
it's fantastic.
If you have an out to the Dryden, this deck can easily OTK Zoo. They don't really play much back row. They don't really play much stuff to really counteract what the opponent is doing, aside from, well, you know, like, I think, like, the more recent builds are playing, like, Strike, and I know some people are moving back to Dimensional Barrier, but even then, this deck is able to push out so much damage on the board very easily. It has so much searching options, it's insane, the amount of searching that this deck can do. The fact that Messenger Lotto is not once per turn is just stupid, which is really, really good, because Messenger Lotto... Sorry.
I think the most powerful thing about this deck is the fact that if you play it properly, not only could you set up a really good field, but you could also reset up your hand to a point where if they were to Regeiki or Dark Hole you still have a plan for next turn. Mm-hmm. Like, because the idea is, for those of you who haven't played the loop or haven't played the deck, basically, the idea is by the time you're through the entire play, you have a Tiramisu, a Levier or Invoker, and another Madolche monster on the field with your Mewtwo and a Jelly back in your hand. So next turn, if something were to happen to your field, you can just do it all over again.
Yeah.
And for me, that's just literally ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way to really beat this deck is to overpower it.
Yeah.
And again, the price of the deck is surprisingly very cheap, apart from the Mad Joints. And I guess, if you're finding a Brilliant Fusion build, I guess Brilliant Fusion's a bit pricey, but like for me, if paying for Brilliant Fusions and Mad Joints are what's going to make this deck good, I'll do it in a heartbeat. And they're not like, they're not like Psalm Strikes or Card Demise or anything, which are $30 a piece or something, so...
Psalm Strike might actually go down since they just announced a reprint. Which would be
I'm really
nice.
hyped about that.
Alrighty, so shall we move on to number 8?
Yeah, there's not much else I can really explain about Madolche. It's just, if you guys want a cheap deck that's fun to play and could actually stand toe-to-toe against the meta, I would highly recommend Madolche's. Yep. That's just me, though.
Number 8 is good old Cosmo, a fan favorite. Mostly because, honestly, I think that the main reason why people love this deck so much is because it's freaking Star Wars. I mean, let's be honest, people love Star Wars. But, however, this deck is still really good. It has a lot of spamming ability, and a lot of search ability. The field spell can search itself or just grab anything from the deck. You got Farm Girl, who can OTK by herself if your opponent doesn't have anything. And heck, you can make your opponent not have anything thanks to Regeki and Dark Hole. This deck doesn't rely on the extra deck at all, really. So you don't have to. Worry about D barrier. You don't have to worry about link format coming up. You don't have to really worry about too much in terms of your extra deck and everything. So you can literally put anything you want in your extra deck and be fine. And just Sorry.
I'm sorry. No. Like, I was gonna add on to that. Not to mention the fact that there are some side deck cards that most decks can't play that you can easily main deck in this if you wanted to go up against the meta. For example, Skill Drain shits on the majority of decks currently. You can play this easily. All you have to do is Farm Girl, Banish, Summon Cosmo, Dark Destroyer, flip up Skill Drain, you win. Because what's going to be able to get over Dark Destroyer without their effects? Apart from maybe Inferno. It's like... And then I would say kind of-ish D-Fisher and D-Fisher more than likely over Macrocosmos because of Cosmo Town, but like even then it's like D-Fisher just most of the time you're banishing your cards anyways, and again most decks rely on the grave. Zodiac, for example, easily the most popular deck. If Rapier gets banished, you win the game.
Yeah.
Hands down. If Dragon gets banished, you win the game. It's like...
The literal only issue of D-Fissure is that it doesn't mess well with the ship since they gotta go to grave. But everything else, it's fine, because if you have D-Fissure and you have the back row to protect it and protect your monsters, you can just kind of sort of just wreck your opponent with that.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like, again, my mindset with that was the fact that if you were to be able to open Farm Girl or something, and then get Dark Destroyer to hand while D-Fisher's on field, the only thing you really need is D-Fisher and Dark Destroyer, because if you're able to do that first turn, like, what are they going to be able to do? Like, they wouldn't really be able to just automatically, like, go into something to be able to get over your Dark Destroyer if they have Skill Drain or D-Fisher on field, because of the fact that those cards are hurting their decks a lot more than it's going to be hurting you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and not only that, but also, people still forget that, like, hey, Forerunner and Dark Destroyer and all the other big ships cannot be targeted by card effects. So, like, Trident can't do anything to them. You don't really care too much if your cards get banished due to Whiptail and everything. And heck, Masterpiece, whom of which is like the biggest, scariest part of True Dracos, he can't destroy Dark Destroyer. And Dark Destroyer can run over him, and heck, Forerunner can crash into it. So long as your opponent doesn't have freaking diagram out, which you can easily destroy thanks to Swift Strider and, you know, like MST, Twin Twister, stuff like that. So this deck can... I don't understand why no one's playing it, because it just has so much easy, good plays that it can do to really just utterly decimate the opponent.
Yep, basically.
Sorry.
And again, like, with most of the meta decks that are currently being played right now, like, what are they going, like, if they can't get around, like, if they can't get to their, like, for Zodiac, if they can't get to Trident, what are they going to be able to do against Cosmos to get around their cards, honestly?
And even if they summon Trident, they can't do anything to the big monsters.
Exactly, because if you like, if they were to somehow get around D-Fisher or Skill Drain, you know, they'll just pop themselves summon about another big guy and then attack over again next turn. Or worst case scenario, you're just baiting out the Trident effect to pop until they run out of options, and then you just steamroll them.
Mm-hmm. And not
Which
only
is
that, oh, sorry.
no, you're good. It's just like this deck can just like out of nowhere just completely overrun you to a point where there's no way you can come back. Like one pop can easily just boom, just set them off.
Yeah, and not to mention they usually main Regeki and Double Dark Hole and pretty much anything to clear your board so that they don't have to worry about getting stopped from being able to OTK. Autopilots, being able to dodge targeting stuff, so like, oh hey, even if you do try to get rid of like a Farm Girl or something with Trident effect, you can just dodge it, go into like a Dark Destroyer or a Substrider or something. And this deck has just so many different ways to OTK. There's various different playstyles. You can go with the Tin Can build to focus on loading up your graveyard and call to haunting everything back. You can go with the Farm Girl OTK build. You can go with a mix of the two. Heck, you can even go with a Dark Planet build. Even though I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually try to do that, but whatever floats your boat.
Point is, like, not only are they very cheap now, especially with the gold series that came out, but if you want a very powerful deck, especially when we're so close to Link format, this is easily the perfect option for you to pick up before Link format rolls around and this deck becomes more popular again. I would highly recommend picking this deck up.
Yeah. Alrighty, so let's move on to number 7. Dynamis!
Which I know almost nothing about. I know almost nothing about this, so this will be fun.
So, Dynamis...
I'm gonna pretend to sit here and sound smart. I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, so let's do this.
So, Dynamis have seen a bit of a resurgence in play because somebody managed to take it to day 2 at YCS Pittsburgh, which, keep in mind, all 32 top spots were comprised of Zodiac variants. And this deck... Honestly, I am so happy to see it be a lot like people actually give it the recognition it deserves, because it's always been one of those underdog pendulum decks that just hasn't gotten the time to shine. And with the release of Dynamis Howling, a continuous trap card that not only instantly sets your pendulum skills, and because it's a trap effect, it gets under anti-spell fragrance, but also turns all of your Dynamis into a Kirin because, oh hey, during your first turn you can tribute off a Dynamis, bounce any card your opponent controls. This deck is absurdly powerful with what it can do. The biggest issue with Dynamis is the sheer fact that they take quite a bit to get going unless you open the perfect hand. Yes, they have 2 search cards in Terran and Charge, and arguably 3 because of Howling, being able to set your skills right away. But the biggest issue with that is that, well, the deck is just kind of sort of inconsistent sometimes, in that it takes a little bit to get rolling. Terran has to kill a monster in battle to be able to search. Charge is a continuous spell card that can be negated by MST because, well, it has to be face up on the field to resolve. And so, even then, the deck is still pretty good because all their pendulum skills, all the skill 3s and all the skill 6s have the same effects, in that all of the skill 3s are able to protect from... I actually can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but I believe all skill 3s protect from destruction, and all skill 6s protect from targeting effects. For all of your Dynamis other than itself, by destroying themselves and the pendulum skills. Which not only means that now your Dynamis are protected from, well, card effects by battle, everything, but your Dynamis are able to really be able to get their effects off. A lot of the Dynamis have effects that trigger whenever they battle. Terran has to kill a monster in battle to search. Ankylos banishes any monster destroyed by battle by a Dynamis monster. Rex, after he battles, you can tribute another Dynamis, spin back any card in your opponent's hand, field, or graveyard. And Hex Spineless is able to attack twice directly for 5,000 damage. It's stupid. This deck has a lot of power and it has a lot of protection. Again, the biggest issue with Dynamis is that they just tend to take a little bit to get going. They're kind of like Gravekeepers in that sense, where...
And because of it, and it's a weakness that I've seemed to notice, at least whenever I tested against them, is the fact that if you're, no matter what kind of deck you're playing, if you have the chance, if your deck can go off even a bit first turn, it's very easy to overwhelm this deck if it hasn't been able to set up.
Yeah.
What I've noticed. Yeah. And, I mean, for me, the biggest pro for the deck would be the fact that it's so fucking cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think most of the stuff in it's common or rare or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Apart from a few cards.
The
Yeah.
the only card that's not a common or a rare is Dynamis Rex, and he's a super. Everything else is common or rare. Now that being said,
It's like
though, you still need to
it's
load
like
up on. Oh, sorry.
no, I was just like it's like Battle Boxers only better.
Yeah. Now that being said, though, you still need to play you still need to get a bunch of traps. Grand Horn of Heaven is one of the big ones. So is Horn of Heaven in general because you trip it off your Dynamis. Uh, and then like also obviously like Lost Wind and everything. Even then, like you can ignore the big expensive traps. If you happen to have like Solemn Strikes, then feel free to play it, but you don't need to play them because you can usually just play Grand Horn of Heaven or Horn of Heaven, Lost Wind, Floodgate Trap Hole, any of these other cheap, really powerful traps. Because that's really what the deck does the best at, is that it can get super grindy, and because of that, the traps it can use can really aid the deck in its power and everything. Basically, it's kind of hard to explain, but basically the monsters are there and they are supplemented by the traps, if that makes any sense. I kind of feel like I just butchered that sentence, but I hope you guys get what I mean.
Ah.
This deck is really supplemented in just how many traps it tends to play. The build that almost topped in Pittsburgh was playing something like 20 traps.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yep.
Everybody likes a good stun deck.
Yep. Oh, by the way, this is going to definitely be one of the good Pendulum decks after Link format rolls in because it has so much recursion from the X deck. Alrighty.
Yeah.
On to
Number
Yep, number 6. Fluffles! This is a deck we are both pretty intelligent about.
I remember when I first started playing Fluffles,
I
and
talked you into it.
Huh?
I talked you into it. You were so adamant about not wanting to play it, and then I talked you into it, and you finally did it, and you fell in love with it.
That was because of the fact that one of my buddies was so into it, and he wanted me to try it, and I was like, I'm not interested though. I got my own Cowardly deck that is Madolche, which I find to be better in my personal opinion, but that's debatable. So, but like no, when I started the deck, it was back when most of the stuff didn't even exist apart from a few cards, and I actually played a tour guide engine along with Psychics.
Oh god.
And it was so easy to spam out Beast Spark again and a Fusion first turn. This deck is nuts when it goes off.
Oh yeah.
Literally, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Now that being said, the deck has definitely proved a lot ever since then, with it actually being able to support on its own because, well, it has actual support now. Toy Vendor is just freaking amazing. Dog is amazing. Owl is amazing. Just about every main monster that you play in this deck is just freaking amazing. They all have either an effect on summon, and then most of them have an effect where they also get another effect whenever they're used for a fusion summon. Like Penguin, who's easily the best card in the deck. That you draw. It's literally a graceful charity, basically, but one less card that you draw, and one less card you discard.
And like the title in the video, the deck is very, very budgetable.
Oh dear God!
So if you wanted to pick it up, I would also highly recommend this deck.
Yeah, the deck. It like I think the most expensive card is like $8 at max, and that's Sabretooth, who you only play like 1 to 2 of, if I remember correctly. The deck is.
I think what's very interesting about this deck, which is very different from most of the decks on this list that we've named off so far, or that we're going to be naming off in coming up here, is the fact that it's not a quote-unquote, what people like to call helmet deck. It's not a simple deck that you can just pick up and be like, oh, I know how to play this. No, this deck takes time and effort into putting into it in order to learn how to play this deck. There's no simple, oh, just do this play and you'll be fine. No, there are a lot of steps and a lot of ways to play this deck. You don't just have to rely on one certain play, which is what I really like. You have so much more options.
This deck is...
It makes you think.
Yeah, it's a very combo-oriented deck. The fusions in the deck are absolutely amazing and really require you to put a lot of thought to really maximize their effort, like their abilities. Like, for instance, Frightful Tiger, he pops more cards for the number of monsters that you use to fusion summon into him. You can use one Edged Sabers plus any number of Fluffles that you want to use to pop to fusion summon into him, which means, heck, if you wanted to, you can pop all. Let's see here, 5 monster zones, all 5 spell trap card zones, and yeah, you could pop like something like 12, 13 cards on your opponent's side of the field if you really want to put that investment into it. I don't recommend it, but you could. And so,
and then, oh, I didn't know if you were selling that card or not. No, keep going. Don't let me interrupt.
And then you can easily follow that up with like a Fright for Fusion to make Fright for Wolf, who is basically the same thing, but he gains more attacks for every fusion material you use to go into him. So that's just 2 of their fusion monsters. They have like 12. It's really stupid.
There's another one that we can easily say is easily one of their best would be Fright for Sheep, which not only is it basically an Armades, but if you try to destroy it, whether it's by battle or by card effect, you can special summon again and gains 800 attack. So it basically goes from a 2k to 2800 beater, and honestly, it's a pain in the ass card to get around.
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to be able to bring back to the field if it gets removed from the field in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because like most people already do play the Edgem Chain, or some builds do play King of Swamp, but the cool thing about this card is the fact that it's very easy to get used by polymerization. I can't speak today because of the fact that the requirements to summon it is very open.
Yeah.
So it's basically easy first turn Armades / whatever the hell you would compare it to.
Not to
it
mention,
can basically be a 2800 beater on the field with Armades.
Might have just mentioned that you can also instant fusion the stupid thing out, and it'll die at end phase and come back.
Yep.
It's like
that's not broken, I swear.
Seriously,
there's nothing broken about that.
Fright for Sheep is one of the reasons why this deck has been so good, because back when Cosmos were the big thing and they were the big meta deck, Fright for Sheep just destroyed Cosmos because they wouldn't get their effects, and the same applies for, well, when you're doing against Zoo, because whenever you attack with Fright for Sheep, they can't drop Whiptail onto their monster, they can't Dryden it, and heck, even if they do, it'll just come back. It is absurd how powerful that card is. And then the deck is getting even better because it's getting Fright for Reborn, which is a monster reborn for the fusions, and has another effect Engrave that I can't remember off the top of my head, though I think it protects one of your fusions from being destroyed by battle or card effects a turn. I can't remember. But however, really all the deck is needing right now is Fright for Patchwork, which Konami seems to be adamant about not giving TCG, which really, really sucks.
But I mean, even so, the deck is not only very powerful, but very cheap to get a hold of, especially compared to some of these other decks, which there's a lot of support for this deck, and you would think because of all the support that it'd be kind of hard to get a hold of all the cards, and it'd be kind of pricey to get a hold of all the cards, but it's not. It's everything is either is fairly low rarity, and most of the stuff that you're going to find in here is either $5 or less. Yeah. So if you're worried about price-wise, you shouldn't have to worry about that. I think the only issue with trying to find these cards would be the fact that not everybody carries them, but if you were to go online and just order them or something, you can get it for a very good price. So
yeah,
if you're wanting the deck.
Yeah, might I also just mention that everything except for the Fluffle Sheep and Fluffle Bear got reprinted as a super or secret in Fusion Enforcers, which is pretty recent, and you can still find it in store shelves oftentimes enough.
Didn't Toy Vendor get reprinted as super?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't reprint Fluffle Bear.
They look phenomenal. They all look phenomenal.
Yep.
But yeah, they're basically They're basically the fusion version of Madolche.
Yeah.
They're adorable and they kick ass. Yeah. That's the point of the deck.
Alrighty.
That's why he would run it.
I think we've fanboyed enough about Fluffles. Let's move on. Number 5.
Yeah, let's go number 5 and fanboy about this deck for.
Oh God, Heroes.
Reasons. Heroes, guys.
More specifically, Darklaw spam builds. Now, keep in mind, this is mostly referring to builds without Totally Awesome, but his price is dipping quite a bit. He's now like $20 or so, $25. So you could.
Even so, like, you're not playing the deck for totally awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be good to get out Dark Law and totally awesome first turn, but like honestly, if you were to get out Dark Law and set 4 and pass, you'll probably win anyways.
Yeah. Unless you have a
enough.
kaiju. But seriously though, Dark Law is it's a win condition in and of itself. It's a walking macrocosmos exclusive for your opponent. Anytime they try to add a card from your deck to their hand, you get to just pick out a card from their hand and banish it. It's got a beefy 2400 body, and heck, with Elemental Hero Honesty Neos, you can now boost that up to a 4900 body, which can just screw your opponent over even more.
And guys, everything, and I do mean everything, in this deck, unless you're taking out Totally Awesome, is $5 or less. Everything.
Yep.
So keep that in mind when you decide if you want to pick up this deck or not. Not to mention that Dark Law alone could stand toe-to-toe against the meta currently and kick-ass.
Oh, God.
If you wanted a rogue deck to take to regional, there you go.
It shuts down pretty much everything. Zoo loses hard to it. They pretty much just have to normal summon a Zodiac and just go straight into Dryden to get rid of it. And even then, you play stuff to stop that, like Effect Failure, Breakthrough Skill, Lost Wind, stuff like that. You know, you basically generally want to make Dark Law first turn in set 5 or set 4, and then, hey, there you go. This deck is just...
And keep in mind, Mass Change is not once per turn. So not only is this deck that powerful, but it can OTK so easily if you played it outright.
Yeah.
Which, again, makes this deck so insanely good.
Yep.
And this deck is a perfect example of you don't need Stratos Legal to be good.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, guys. Mr. Stratos needs to come on ban. Hashtag free my broom Stratos. No, it can stay banned. It does, because this deck doesn't need it, because the OTKs in Rex House enough.
It needs to come back.
I'm going to continue to throw shade at Stratos forever. Anyways,
let's move on to number 4 before we get into that.
Yeah,
that argument.
we don't want to be those people. Number 4, which is one of my personal favorite quote unquote former meta decks, kind of meta decks, would be Satellar Knights. Now, the thing about this deck that I can easily say is not only is the only card in this deck that's quote unquote pricey is Deneb. Other than that, everything is basically $5 less for the most part. And this deck is so fucking consistent. Like, the deck is phenomenally consistent. Not only that, but playing the stun variant of this, you can open into a very powerful first turn. God, my mind just went blank. I hate it when my mind goes blank.
Deltaros with like 4 back row.
Yes, Deltaros, thank you. I was trying to remember the actual deck name. I know everything, but like I just went blank there. Yes, easiest first turn play would be Deltaros and 3 or 4 back row. One of those back rows being Tower Knight Alpha, which basically lets you tribute off your Deltaros, pop their card, draw a card, and activate Deltaros effect to bring out your Deneb or your Altera and just go off from there again. So basically, you're just resetting your field and getting rid of your opponent's card in the process.
And drawing a card.
Yeah, and drawing a card. Phenomenal deck. Yep. Phenomenal.
Not to mention they're light warriors, so they have a lot of support to go with them if you want to get techie.
Reinforcement of the army, Photon Thrasher, all perfect choices for first turn plays, and easy consistency. And this is the only deck I've ever considered playing Pot of Desires in, and it's still being very good. Because I hate Pot of Desires with a burning passion. I don't get why people play it in most decks, but this deck makes perfect sense.
Now, with that being said, one of the biggest reasons why this deck is so good is because of their other main extra deck monster being freaking... crap, not my...
Trevere. It basically resets the field, but it doesn't pop everything. It returns everything to hand.
And then you can detach and pick a card out of your opponent's hand. It's stupid. It lets you. It's because of that Satellar Knights are able to play cards like Call to Haunted, Oasis of Dragon Souls, Phoenix Chain, stuff like that. Because you can just reset it, and then you get your Call to Haunted back, and you can do it again. And you can do it again and then keep annoying your opponent. And not to mention Trevere can loop Trevere, and it's stupid and obnoxious, and I hate it.
He's very salty against the deck. And by the deck, I mean my deck. Which is very understandable.
I don't like getting Trevered. It's
not
annoying.
Not to mention, all of the extra deck for Teller Knights is very powerful in its own way. Deltero sets up the field. Trevere is better for kind of mid to late game for the resetting the field, and also if it gets onto grave, you can special summon a Teller Knight from your grave. Versus Constellar Knight Diamond, which basically says "fuck you" to that Grasslick screener.
And to every single dark deck out there.
Yep.
And then
and in my opinion, the best part about this deck is that all these main deck monster effects can happen when they're summoned. It doesn't have to be normal summoned. It's not normal or flip face up. It is summoned. Normal summon, flip summon, special summon. It doesn't matter.
They're
the moment it hits as a summon, boom, they can go off, and it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, they're basically all Stratos in that sense.
Ah, it's so good. It's a Stratos that I actually love, and it's the only Stratos that, in my opinion, actually matters. Hashtag throwing shade.
Oh god.
Okay. No, it's a stupid consistent deck, and it's very cheap. If you guys want a solid deck that can stand against the meta, I would highly recommend this deck. Phenomenal deck.
Yep. On to number 3, we have ABC.
Alrighty.
Oh,
another deck I'm playing because I'm that guy.
Oh god. Alrighty.
This one, we were a bit. I mean, we were okay. We were. I'm gonna tell them we were trying to debate a top 10. Another top 10 video for lower tier decks, and we were very hesitant on putting this one on there only for the fact that, in my opinion, this could easily be a quote-unquote meta deck, at least now. But, like, the cool part about this deck is it's because of the structure decks that came in, it's very cheap, and all the extra stuff that comes with it is all very cheap. The only pricey card I could think of would be Tsukiyomi, but Tsukiyomi is down to, like, somewhere between $5 and $10. So,
depending on what rarity.
And it's a very, very simple deck to learn for those of you who are not only looking for a budget deck, but a deck that if you're trying to get into the game for the first time, this is the perfect deck to learn how to play the game because it's a very simple deck. Or if you're trying to get a friend of yours into the game, perfect deck to start out with.
Yeah.
It's a very solid deck, it's very powerful, it's very cheap, and it's very easy to learn.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, but also one of the arguably best boss monsters in the game, an ABC Dragon Buster. God, that thing's obnoxious.
It's so good.
You know, just being able to pitch a card out of your hand, banish anything, and then, oh hey, you know your opponent's got a kaiju. Okay, stand by face, tribute off, special summon all 3 of its parts from banish zone, and then Union Hanger, which is a stupid good card. Just use that effect, get another piece, and then, oh hey, next turn make 2 ABC Dragon Busters and screw over your opponent even more.
Yeah, for those of you who don't actually know what the deck does, the idea is they rely on Union Hanger to equip the Union monsters from the deck to themselves, so they can go into Dragon Buster a lot quicker, a lot easier. And with Dragon Buster during your opponent's turn, if they're trying to like get rid of your cards or something, like even with like Regeki, like if they were to Regeki or Dragon Buster, you chain Dragon Buster, you summon all 3 of your monsters back that were banished for the requirements. They get popped. You search out Union monsters, or depending on which effects you want to go off, you can either search them out from the deck, you can add them back to your hand from the graveyard, or you can special summon them from your hand and then just go into Dragon Buster next turn.
Yeah,
like it's phenomenal.
It's really stupid. I mean, the deck has just so much going for it. The big issue with the deck and why it just kind of fell off the face of the earth was because the deck loses hard to Zoo. It really does, because it's Trident. Granted, if you play smart and you set up everything before going into ABC Dragon Buster, you can easily play around Trident. It's an uphill battle for you, really, honestly, if you're going against Zoo.
Honestly, I would say it depends on the build that you're playing. Like, if you're trying to go for a very quick spamming ABC build, obviously they would have a hard time against some of the meta that could easily counteract that. But if you're playing a stun variant, like I'm playing, where you can rely more on your back row and then using that to protect your Dragon Buster, against from decks like, for example, Zodiac, you may have a better chance of going up against them. It's all based on player preference and how the player is going to build the deck.
Yeah.
Which I guess you can use the argument for any deck, but at least with this particular one, most decks don't have this powerful of a boss monster that you can get out so ungodly easy.
Yeah.
Like ignoring all effects, he's a 3k beater. Like, that's not easy to get over.
Yeah, and you can summon him super easily just by getting all 3 in grave. It's really stupid.
Which is the most phenomenal part, which in my opinion is the most phenomenal part about this deck, is the fact that you can summon him very different from the X-Spicy Dragon Cannon, which would be, you can banish him from either the field or the grave. So basically, if you have ways of, like, you can utilize cards like Twin Twister, or even if you wanted to, you could play, you can main deck cards like Divine Wrath, or Regeki Break or Phoenix Wing Blast to send those cards to grave, remove cards from your opponent's field, and set up your grave so you can go into your Dragon Buster that much easier.
Yeah, and can I just say that it freaking made Unions playable?
Right? Unions are finally good, guys. It's so good. But yeah, the reason why we decided to put this so high on the list is the fact that this is easily, in my opinion, apart from number 2 and number 1, of course, the best deck to go up against the meta. The only deck that could really have a hard time against would be Zoo, but if you play enough back row or if you play enough outs to Trident, you're probably you'll probably overpower them. So,
all right, on to number 2.
Personal favorite of his, and Hegel's, like a fuck ton. Like, if Hegel can marry a deck, it would definitely be this deck.
It's Dino. Dinos.
Hell yeah, man.
Dinos are awesome. I've always loved dinosaurs ever since I was a little kid, and by dinosaurs I mean like the actual prehistoric animals. So the fact that I can play a dino deck and not feel like I'm playing a crappy deck that I just threw together is just awesome. Because dinos are friggin' awesome. The deck is really good. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. If you want to talk about easy to summon, super powerful boss monsters, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is like the epitome of easy to summon super powered boss monsters. They took all the goodness of Ultimate Tyranno and all the goodness of Super Conductor Tyranno and put them together in one monster and kept none of the restrictions or bad stuff. This card is stupid easy to summon. It has so much power. Not only that, but also can book them in everything your opponent controls. Just by destroying a monster in your hand or field. And that usually also nets you a plus, because you're usually destroying one of the baby dinosaurs, and then they special another dino from deck. And
that's usually, like Conductor Tyranno's effect alone can easily set up for the perfect 1/2 card OTK. If you set it up and play it right, it's a very, very powerful deck that can easily manipulate the field and just completely wreck house.
Yeah.
With just the effects of a couple of cards. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. This deck, it has so much going for it. I mean, heck, now keep in mind we're not talking about the True King variant, because the True King variant requires you to play Diagram, and that's a $90 card.
Yeah, we're talking purely dinos with the True King Lithogasm, who is only a couple of bucks. So, apart from that, you're really not paying much money for this deck at all.
Yeah.
And so, I mean...
Heck, even if you don't want to play the Lithogasm, you can just buy 3 of the structure deck, and there you go. They give you freaking... I believe it's the Dino structure deck that has Twin Twister as a reprint. But, like, it just has so much good reprints in the deck, in the structure deck, and has so many good cards in the deck. It's stupid how good this deck is for being a structure deck. Not only that, but also, if you want to have a good safety net for, like, after Links come out, this is going to be one of the best decks after Links.
Hands down. This will be a phenomenal deck to play. Yeah. Now, I want to address, because we probably should address this when we hit number 2. This and number 1 was very, very hard to decide up until right before we started the video as to which should be number 1 or number 2. The reason we went for this because some people don't play a certain card, and True King Dinos that makes, or in the Dino deck that makes it to where number 1 could overpower number 2 by just that much. Otherwise, it would have been very, very difficult to decide which deck should go to number 1, because this deck, the reason why, like, that's the only reason why it's not number 1 as well, because the reason why it's so high on the list is because it's by far, in my opinion, the cheapest deck on this list apart from Dynamis.
Yeah.
Like, it's everything can just come into one set and you've got the deck.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And again, a very, very, very powerful deck with by far, arguably, one of the most powerful boss monsters in the game.
Yep. Now then.
Also, Miscellaneousaurus.
That card is stupid. The fact that it doesn't say monsters you currently control is just obscene, because you don't have to have Dinos on the field to activate its effect, so you can go straight into main phase, use its effect, and then not have to worry about your monsters at all. With the exception of Solemn
It could
Warning.
be worse.
I mean, yeah.
It could be much more powerful. It could be until the end phase.
Oh god, if that was much
Could you imagine that? Oh god, I would never have sold Hegel that Dino deck if it was until end phase. I'd be like, sorry, Hegel,
God.
I'm keeping this for myself. I'm taking it to regionals.
Now then,
All right.
Before we go to
Before
number
we
one,
hit,
sorry.
my number one. I'm hyped for that. But yes, before we hit it, we do have some honorable mentions that we felt the need to throw out there because there's actually very specific reasons for why these decks aren't on the list, and we will go through them.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, if you don't mind me going through real quick,
Sure.
at the same time, because both basically had the same exact reason, which would be Barrier Stun and Chain Burn.
Yep.
The reason why, I know, the honorable mention and Chain Burn's underneath that. Isn't that so ironic? But no, the reason why we have... Yeah. But, like, honestly, the reason why we have to add those two is they're very cheap, and against the meta, they're very, very, very powerful. The only reason why we didn't want to add it to the list is for the fact that card demise is very, very expensive, and honestly, that's what makes these cards so much more consistent and faster, because it's so much easier to get into your plays and end the duel a lot quicker, or set up for your cards a lot quicker. Because if you're not playing card demise in this deck, the decks are going to run too slow, in my opinion, to the point where they wouldn't really be able to stand up against the meta, and there would be no point adding them to this list because they just wouldn't be that powerful. But with that kind of consistency, these decks can easily overthrow the meta. Take it from somebody that's like, I'm not going to say that I've tested with Barrier Stun. I've seen it tested by people, and I think it's phenomenal against the meta. I've tested Chain Burn myself against the meta very thoroughly, and I will quote you on this. It is a phenomenal deck to go up against the meta. The only card that I can honestly think of that could beat Chain Strike that people cite anymore is Danko Seika. That is it.
Yeah.
If they don't have that, they're going to lose. Yeah. Hands down.
And even then, Danko Seika is falling out of favor for a lot of people lately. Mostly because the big meta decks don't play back row.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's basically our only reason why we didn't add those into the list. Otherwise, they would have had to be added to the list. I know everybody hates Chain Burn. Chain Burn is trash. As somebody that's played Chain Burn, I have no problem saying it's also trash. But that doesn't change the fact that it's a very, very powerful deck. It's very, very, very cheap. Everything is worth nothing except for card demise.
Yeah, and you can play the deck without card demise. I mean, the deck's been played for years fine without card demise, but the deck is just not as good without card demise. You kind of need it now that it's actually a thing.
I think the reason why it's so neat is because of the fact that the format is so ungodly fast. That if this deck isn't playing card demise, it's going to burn out within the first couple turns, and it's going to lose immediately.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Otherwise, honestly, card demise could be... this deck could be played without it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to play these decks, play card demise. But on to the other cards that he knows more about than I do. The other honorable mentions.
Spiral, first and foremost. The main reason why we didn't bring them up is because they're just so new and people are still working out what the best builds are. The deck is really good. It has a lot of stuff going for it. Not to mention, it's just super incredibly cheap. The most expensive card in it is like $5 or $6. Last I checked, at least. I mean, Super Agent has always been the most expensive card, but mostly because he's the main card of the deck. But however, he's just not expensive at all. I mean, you can find him easily under $10. Now, with that being said, though, once that quote-unquote perfect build of the deck is found, or the generally conceived best build of the deck is found, I feel like the deck could definitely be very, very powerful, at least in local sense. I don't know like if you could take it to a regional. I know somebody did relatively well at a regional with it prior to Maximum Crisis, but however, I really feel like that with all the new stuff and with everything available to the deck, I feel like that it should be. I don't think it should be too long before people really crack the deck and figure out what's good in it.
On that topic of the locals,
Mm-hmm.
or of the locals ready,
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to keep in mind, if you're planning to just stick around to locals, if you're trying to build budget decks, I can honestly say safely, all of these decks could be played at locals and do a good job,
Mm-hmm.
if you know how to build the decks. Regional wise, some of these maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
YCS wise, ooh, good luck. I wish you the best of luck if you can pull these off. Power to you guys. I would love to be one of those people to try and pull that off. I'm not going to make any promises on that, but honestly, most of these decks, if you were to take them to locals, they should do a very good job.
Yeah.
So, these aren't bad budget decks that we're giving you guys. Like, these are solid decks that we honestly feel could do something.
Yeah. Next up is Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes was honestly a tie with Ancient Gear, but, well, we couldn't really do that, so we put it on the honorable mentions. The reason why we prefer to bring up Ancient Gear over Blue Eyes is that Ancient Gear just has so much more going for it. Blue Eyes has fallen so far out of favor, mostly because it just isn't as great against the meta as Ancient Gear, which is really sad and funny to say at the same time. The deck, it just doesn't have much going for it, really, honestly.
Yeah. Not to mention, like, if you were to compare Ancient Gear to Blue Eyes, they're both very, very powerful when they go off, but, like, if you were to side against them, which deck is a lot easier to side against?
Blue Eyes.
Exactly. Blue Eyes would get shut down by the side deck.
Yeah.
It would get completely wrecked. Granted, some of these decks would get completely wrecked by the side deck. I'm not going to argue against that. The problem with Blue Eyes is that it's so easy to side in against a deck that relies so much on the graveyard and the field, as well as it's a light target, a light monster, which Light Imprisoning Mirror, if people aren't playing it anymore, they could just as easily side it in. And that card alone would just completely wreck this deck. So,
not to mention the cards that people are using to side against the current big decks, that being Zoo and True Draco variants, is that a lot of people are playing Drone Lockbird and DD Crow, both of which shut down Blue Eyes big time. DD Crow, oh hey, you activate your Monster Reborn for dragons? Okay, I'll chain DD Crow, banish it. Oh hey, your card fizzles out. Draw Lockbird? Okay, you just activated Trade-In, got to draw your 2 cards. Okay, you aren't drawing or searching for the rest of the turn. It's really, really stupid just how much those 2 cards really hurt the deck. And everybody is maining or siding 3 of it. And it's really, really stupid. So the deck gets hurt really hard by those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally we have Odd Eyes, Magician, Performapile, Pendulum. Huge amalgamation of like 5 different archetypes. The deck, the reason why we couldn't put it on here is because we don't know how long it's going to stay budget. Mostly because there is a very, very big chance that if the deck does do well and you start seeing people topping tournaments with it after the ban list goes into effect on June 12th, the deck may very well explode. We already saw that when the ban list was revealed. Duelist Alliance jumped to like $18, and Skulker Bats, or at least the super rares, jumped to like $10. Granted, everything has settled out and went back to basically normal prices because most people don't know how this deck is going to do. And I feel like that in regards to the new ban list and everything and how much these cards are going to be, it's really going to come down to how well the deck is, how well of a turnout it sees in the first few regionals and YCSs and stuff after the ban list goes into effect. If it sees a lot of play and it goes and does really well and everything, like it starts topping left and right, then yeah, you're going to see this deck explode and you're not going to be able to get it for cheap anymore.
My mindset with it would be the same deal as with everything on this list, and that's Nats is coming up very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that this Performapile, Skullcrabat, Magician variant deck will be taking a Nats, and I feel like it's going to take several spots because of how powerful I think it's going to become. And because Nats is such a big like a big deal for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, if they see this deck topping several spots at that event, people are going to know how powerful and how valuable that deck can be. And because of that, bam, prices are going to go up immediately. And that deck, compared to all the decks on this list so far, this deck has the easiest chance of topping at Nationals, and because of it, everything's just going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
My focus on all this is Nationals, preparing for Nationals, and how these budget decks are going to fit into that.
Yeah. If you really want to play the deck, get it now if you haven't already. Like, really, in all honesty.
Yes. We can't express that enough. If you guys want to build this deck, don't hesitate, don't consider it. Either build it now or you're going to miss out on it.
And pay a crap ton.
Huh?
And pay a crap ton, possibly. Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty.
All right.
Number 1.
Ooh, can I announce it?
Yeah. 3.
Oh my god.
2.
By far, one of my newer favorite decks.
1. Bang.
Magispectors. This deck is so fucking insane.
It's obnoxious.
First off, none of these cards can be targeted by card effects. That
or destroyed
alone,
by card effects.
yes, that alone makes this deck so hard to get around, which is one of the reasons why we had to put this number 1 and not Dinos. Because if Dinos aren't playing Lost World, this deck's going to completely wreck that deck. Compared to all the decks on this list that we have currently, this deck is very consistent. All of it's very cheap. Most of the deck is either between under $5 or a couple of the cards are somewhere between 5 and 10. But I'm pretty sure the most expensive card in the main deck, at least, which is normally what it relies on, which is very interesting, is that the only time they really use the extra deck is when they're pendulum summoning, or on a very rare occasion they'll go into Chidori, or even the Fusion Draco card, or Utopia Lightning for the extra out. Otherwise, they only use it for pendulum summoning, and again, can't be targeted or destroyed, and their back row is phenomenal. Like, we need to make a drinking game out of this every time I use the word phenomenal, because I've been using that all video, but I'm not even kidding. They have their own Solemn Strike card with no drawback other than tributing these guys off, which tributing them off, they go right back to the extra deck, so you can just summon them again next turn. Like, that's obnoxious. They refuel themselves and then continue to pick off your opponent's cards one by one, and then just start poking your opponent for game with small furries. That is nuts.
The highest attack power monster that you play in the deck is 1500. Their boss monster, Kieran, who got banned.
Kieran is banned for a good reason.
And even then, you didn't play him in the deck because you can't pendulum summon Kieran in the deck, which is the most ill-designed boss monster I've ever seen for an archetype. But really,
I will name off one specific card that can make this deck go completely nuts. Okay, no, 2. Majesty Pegasus, which for those of you who don't know what it does, it boosts their power by about 300, and once per turn you can tribute off one of your Magispectors, summon another one straight from your deck. Their main search monster, Raccoon can automatically search himself out. If you wanted to do that, set up your hand. And then the other card that makes this deck completely insane is Ties of the Brethren. That card, that card alone sets up your plays and allows you to either set up to go off that turn or go off next turn. Because if your opponent Regeikis your entire field, or tries to clear your entire board, okay, they'll just go right back to the extra deck, just so I can pendulum summon all over again next turn and just use their effects, which again, keep in mind, their effects can be triggered when they're normal and special summoned. So,
yeah.
you try to bring them back, you try and pendulum summon them, they're going to go off. Doesn't matter.
This deck is stupid. It really
It's so
is.
good.
And it's so cheap. I don't get like this deck saw a bit of competitive play in the OCG, and everybody hyped it up. Heck, Raccoon was like $40 at launch, at release, I should say. And this deck saw moderate play at the beginning, and then nobody played it after like a week, and their prices have just dropped over time. This deck is so absurd. I don't get why people just stop playing it. I guess it's because.
And if you guys want to know the truth here, this is another reason why I was so hard on Terror Top getting hit, because when Link format comes around, all Meta Specters had to do was play Terror Top to go into their extra deck, and they'd automatically be fine, because Terror Top is a very easy into the Link 3 monster, so you have more space for your extra, so you can pendulum summon that much easier. Also, their rank, if you wanted to go into their rank 3s, the rank 3s are powerful. You have Break Sword to pop your own Meta Spectre, so you can summon them again the following turn. Or you have Grand Pulse to pop your opponent's back row, or Totem Burr, which protects your monsters from back row that could potentially get around it.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
It's just really obnoxious. If you want to just become the bane of everybody's existence at your locals, play this deck. Nobody will like you. I'm exaggerating, of course.
Feeling, as a Meta Spectre player, I'm feeling personally attacked right now.
I'm joking. Jeez.
But no, it's a very powerful deck. It's very cheap. Literally the only pricey-ish card in the deck would be Ties of the Brethren.
It's like $4.
And yeah, even then it's about $3 or $4 now. It's slowly dwindling down price, which I like to see. And I mean, it's literally a very, very powerful deck, very budgetable. Easily, if you guys want to build a deck to stand against the meta and just go nuts, you can easily do that. The coolest thing about this deck is, obviously, a lot of the meta players would play cards like Ghost Dash, Solemn Strike, and used to be D-Barrier now. For me, I personally play Ghost Ogres for the Out to Lost World, and cards like Lost Wind, which is still a fantastic trap to have. And I even play Battle Traps, because if you can't remove them with your card effects, how else are you going to get over them? You're going to go over them with Battle Traps. So Stormy Mirror Force, Quaking Mirror Force shuts down everything. They try and summon a problematic monster, they have Tempest, or they have Solemn Warning. Boom, they're gone.
Alrighty. I know you want to keep talking about Magic Specters for like another hour, but the video...
Actually, that was about it.
Yeah, I was about to say, this video is over an hour long now, if you'll believe it. Yeah, it's an hour, 2 minutes, 50 seconds, about to hit an hour and 3 minutes. So that's...
Guys, if you guys stuck around, we can't appreciate you guys enough. We really wanted to do this video. It was a lot of fun. And if you guys would love to see another top 10 video,
hopefully not an hour long.
Yeah, only not an hour long. Please let us know down in the comments what topic you guys would like us to talk about, because I would be more than happy to talk about it.
What are your guys'
videos.
What are your guys' thoughts on the list? Do you want to? What decks do you think we should have talked about? Do you think we should move stuff around? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. See you all later. Peace out.
And if you guys would like any deck lists on any of these budget decks, just let us know. We would have no problem either doing a deck profile online, or because me or Christian do own some of these decks, we would have no problem deck profiling these for you guys. Just let us know down in the comments. And if you guys actually got any, or actually did get any help or ideas from what you wanted to play next from our video, please let us know. We greatly appreciate the support and enthusiasm that you guys show for this channel, especially these discussion videos. We love talking about decks, especially since we're now leaning more towards our lower tier decks that we've obviously built this channel around. We love doing this stuff for you guys. So
I just want to say that between just me and Boomer, not even counting Hagel, we have everything on this list built with the exception of Barrier Statue.
So let us know, guys. But yes, from me personally, because Hero did his own out, Thank you guys so much for watching. We greatly support we greatly appreciate your support. I almost worded that terribly. I'm sorry. I'm bad at intros and and the like. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourselves an awesome day. We will see you guys later.
Peace out. Goodbye. Oh, and also, since Boomer interrupted me, link to the Discord is down below if you guys want to go and join the Discord chat. I think you guys would really like it. People seem to really like being able to talk to us. See you all later. Peace out. Goodbye. And...